Oxford Read and Discover, Level 5, Wild Weather by Jacqueline Martin, read by Laurel Lefkoe, published and copyright Oxford University Press, 2010. Introduction. Wind, rain, cloud, and snow are all types of weather. Weather is different in different places around the world. In some places, the weather is the same every day, and in other places, it changes every hour. Weather can be calm or wild. What are these types of weather called? Do you know what places have these types of weather? What types of weather are there where you live?
Discover!
Now read and discover more about different types of weather. Chapter 1. What is weather? Around Earth, there is a blanket of air called the atmosphere. Weather is the different conditions in the atmosphere. What types of weather do you like? How does weather happen? Most of the weather on Earth happens because of two things: the sun and air pressure. The sun heats some parts of Earth more than others, so air is warmer in some places and cooler in others. Areas of warm or cold air, called air masses, move around and bring different types of weather. When two masses meet, the weather changes. You can't feel it, but the air is pushing down on you. This is called air pressure. Air pressure can change. Low air pressure brings rain and wind. High air pressure brings clear skies, which means hot, sunny days in summer, but cold days in winter. Knowing about the weather. We need to know about the weather so that we can build the right type of homes, wear the right clothes, and travel at the right time. If people on ships and planes know about the weather, they can avoid bad storms. If farmers know about the weather, they can plant and cut down crops at the right time. In 1992, weather forecasters warned people in the USA that Hurricane Andrew was coming. Sadly, 54 people died, but lots of people survived.
Discover!
In the past, the Chippewa Indians in North America thought that the sun was in a bag all winter. They believed that every spring a mouse bit a hole in the bag and the sun came out. Predicting the weather. A good way to predict the weather is to look at the types of cloud in the sky. Today, scientists use computers to predict the weather. But in the past, people watched nature. They watched what happened to plants, animals, the moon, or the stars. Many people still do this. Some people think that cows or sheep can predict the weather. They think that if animals sit down, it will rain. People also believe that a red sky at night means good weather the next day, but a red sky in the morning means bad weather. Many years ago, scientists flew in hot air balloons to measure the weather. Today, they collect information from weather stations, weather planes, weather balloons, and satellites to understand what the weather will do. Millions of measurements are taken every day. The information helps scientists to predict the weather.
Discover.
There are about 10,000 weather stations around the world. Chapter 2. World Weather. Weather can be very different around the world depending on the climate and the landscape. The climate is the usual weather for a place. The landscape is what the land is like. Weather and climate. Weather can change, but climates stay the same most of the time. There are different types of climate because of the sun. The sun shines most strongly on the middle of Earth, called the equator. Places near the equator have hot climates, with lots of hot, sunny weather. Places far from the equator have cold climates, with cold, snowy weather. Places in between have temperate climates, where the weather is mild. Adapting to climate. Different things live and grow in different climates. Plants and animals adapt to where they live. For example, animals in cold climates often have thick coats to keep them warm. Only plants with short roots can grow in cold climates because the ground is frozen for most of the year. Very few plants can grow in deserts because there isn't enough water. Cactus plants survive because they can store water.
Discover.
If lightning hits a cactus, it can explode. The lightning boils the water inside the cactus, and the steam makes part of the cactus explode. Weather and seasons. Earth goes around the sun. For some of the year, one half of Earth is nearer the sun, so it has warmer weather called summer. At the same time, the other half is away from the sun, so it has colder weather called winter. This is how the seasons work. Most places have summer and winter, but in temperate climates, there are also seasons called spring and fall, when the weather isn't as hot as summer or as cold as winter. Places near the equator are usually hot, but they have wet and dry seasons. Weather and landscape. The weather of a place can change depending on the landscape. If you climb a mountain, the air gets about 6 degrees centigrade colder every 1,000 meters that you climb. So there can be snow at the top of a mountain near the equator. Land gets warm faster than the ocean, so in summer, inland places are warmer than places near the ocean. Inland places cool down faster too, so they are colder in winter.
Discover.
Plains have some of the hottest weather. They have hot summers and cold, dry winters because they are far from the ocean and they can be protected by mountains too. Chapter 3. All about clouds. Clouds look light, but even a small cloud can be as heavy as 100 elephants. Every cloud is made of millions of tiny drops of water. Cloud shapes. There are many cloud shapes, but they all come from 3 types of cloud. If we look at the type of cloud in the sky, this can help us to predict the weather. Stratus clouds are low, thin blankets of cloud. These can bring light rain. Cumulus clouds usually bring good weather, but if they get too big or low, they can change into cumulonimbus clouds, and that means storms. Cirrus clouds form high in the sky. They are made of ice crystals, and they often mean that bad weather is coming. Mist and fog. At night, the ground cools down, and it also cools the air above it. When the air gets cold, the water in it can turn into mist. Mist is like a very thin cloud. Fog is like mist, but it's a thicker cloud that forms nearer the ground. It's very hard to see in fog, and you can easily get lost, so it can be dangerous. Driving in fog is also dangerous, but cars have special fog lights to help other drivers to see them. Storm clouds. When hot air rises on a hot day, it can change into storm clouds. In a storm, strong winds make the tiny drops of water inside clouds hit each other, and this makes electricity. The electricity moves between the cloud and the ground, and it makes very bright flashes of light called lightning. Lightning is about 30,000 degrees centigrade. Lightning heats the air around it, and the air moves away very fast and makes a loud noise called thunder. There are about 40,000 thunderstorms every day.
Discover.
Light travels faster than sound, so you see lightning before you hear thunder. Count the seconds between lightning and thunder. If you count 3 seconds, the storm is a kilometer away. Lightning facts. There are many different types of lightning. Forked lightning and zigzag lightning are the most common, but there are also sheet lightning and rocket lightning. About 100 lightning flashes happen every second on Earth, but most of them don't hit the ground. Lightning usually hits tall things like trees and buildings. The Empire State Building in New York in the USA is hit by lightning about 100 times every year. Lightning doesn't usually hit people, but a park ranger in Virginia in the USA has been hit 7 times.
Discover.
Lightning is almost 6 times hotter than the sun. It can even melt rock. Chapter 4. Here comes the rain. People, animals, and plants all need water. Enough rain falls every day for 100 baths for every person on Earth. Sadly, some people don't have enough water because more rain falls in some places than others. What is rain? Rain is water that falls from clouds onto the ground and into rivers, lakes, and oceans. When the sun heats the water, some of the water changes into a gas called water vapor. This is called evaporation. Water vapor rises into the sky where it cools and changes back into tiny drops of water that make clouds. The drops of water get bigger and then they fall as rain. Rainwater goes into rivers. Rivers go into lakes and oceans, and the process starts again. This is called the water cycle. Rainbows. When there is rain and sun at the same time, raindrops break light from the sun into different colors, and we see a rainbow. There are 7 different colors in a rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Sometimes you can see 2 or more rainbows in the sky at the same time. You can only see a rainbow if you are between the sun and the rain. Have you ever seen a rainbow at night? Rainbows made in the light from the moon are called moonbows.
Discover.
If you see a rainbow from a plane, it will look like a circle. Monsoons. In tropical climates, where it's hot and wet, there are only 2 seasons. For half of the year, winds blow from the land to the ocean, and there is a hot, dry season. For the other half of the year, winds blow from the ocean to the land, and there is a long, wet season. When the winds change, and they blow from the ocean, it's called the monsoon. Monsoon winds bring heavy rain. People need monsoon rain for their crops to grow, but it can bring problems too.
Discover.
One of the wettest places on Earth is Cherrapunji in India. About 11.5 meters of rain falls there every year. Is rain good or bad? We need rain to help things grow. But if there is heavy rain, Rivers sometimes overflow and make floods. Floods can happen anywhere, even in deserts. Floods can destroy buildings and crops, and they can kill animals and people. Floods can be good, too. The mud from a flood makes soil more fertile, so crops grow better. In Bangladesh, there are floods after the monsoon almost every year. Bangladesh has the most fertile soil in the world. Chapter 5. Cold Weather. About 11,000 years ago, more than 30% of Earth was covered in ice. Earth is warmer today, but we still have cold weather. Where is it cold? The coldest climates on Earth are near the North and South Poles. Most of the ice there never melts. Some ice has been there for more than 2 million years. The coldest place in the world is Vostok, in Antarctica. The temperature there is usually about minus 57 degrees centigrade. But in 1987, it reached minus 89 degrees. That's the coldest temperature ever recorded. Snow and sleet. When the air temperature is less than 0 degrees centigrade, water drops in the clouds change into ice crystals. As more drops freeze, the crystals get bigger. Then, as the crystals fall through the clouds, they hit each other and form snowflakes. Snow can be fun, but it can make it difficult for people to travel. When it's cold, you must keep your hands, toes, and nose warm, or they can go numb. If you get too cold, you can get hypothermia. This is when your body is so cold that it stops working. If the temperature near the ground is more than 0 degrees centigrade, snowflakes start to melt, and they change into sleet. Sleet is a mixture of rain and snow.
Discover.
All snowflakes have 6 parts, but every one has a different pattern. Hail. When air rises and carries water drops up to where the air freezes, the drops freeze and form hailstones. Small hailstones start to fall, but they are pushed up again by more rising air, and another layer of ice forms on top of the hailstone. This keeps happening until the hailstones are heavier than the air, and then they fall to the ground. If you cut a hailstone in half, you can count how many times this happened by counting the layers of ice.
Discover.
Most hailstones are very small, but the biggest hailstone ever recorded was almost 18 centimeters wide. That's as big as a soccer ball. Blizzards. A heavy snowstorm with icy winds and temperatures less than minus 12 degrees centigrade is called a blizzard. Blizzards can happen very quickly, and the snow can cover buildings, cars, and trains. Power cables can fall down, leaving people in their homes with no electricity. In a strong blizzard, you can't see where the sky meets the ground. This is called a whiteout. In whiteouts, planes can crash and birds can fly into the ground. Heavy snow can also make avalanches happen. This is when a lot of snow falls down mountains very quickly. Avalanches cover everything as they move. Chapter 6. Hot weather. Weather is hottest in places near the equator because they are nearer the sun. Weather here can be hot and dry or hot and wet. The highest temperature recorded was in Libya in 1922. It was 58 degrees centigrade. Hot deserts. Places with less than 25 centimeters of rain every year are called deserts. Deserts can be hot or cold, but they are almost always dry because the winds there blow from the land to the ocean. During the day, the skies are usually clear and sunny, but with no clouds to keep the heat in. The nights can be very cold.
Discover.
The driest place in the world is the Atacama Desert in Chile. It once had no rain for 400 years. Droughts and fires. If rain doesn't fall for a long time, rivers and lakes can dry up. When this happens, it's called a drought. Crops can't grow without water, so if there's a long drought, people don't have enough to eat, and there can be a famine. Hot sun can start fires. Fires can be a big problem in hot, dry countries because trees and other plants are dry. Forest fires are not always bad because they clear up dead leaves and help the soil. Some plants need strong heat for their seeds to grow. Sandstorms. When storm clouds form after a hot day in the desert, sandstorms can happen. Most sandstorms are not dangerous, and they are only a few meters high. But sometimes, strong winds blow the sand up to 3 kilometers in the air and carry it for thousands of kilometers. Big sandstorms can break rocks, and they can last for 3 or more days. It's difficult to see and breathe in a sandstorm. Humid weather. Hot places are not always dry. Hot places near water are often humid because air sucks up the water that evaporates from oceans and rivers. The amount of water vapor in the air is called its humidity. In hot, humid weather, your sweat can't evaporate, so you can't cool down. You must drink lots of water in hot weather. If your body gets too hot, you can get heat stroke and be sick.
Discover.
On a clear, humid day, you can sometimes see the water vapor in the air. This is called a heat haze. Chapter 7. Windy Weather. As Earth moves, air moves with it. Warm air rises, and cool air takes its place. As air moves, the pressure changes. Air goes from the high pressure to the low pressure, and this makes wind. Types of wind. Winds get their names from the direction that they blow from. For example, a north wind blows from north to south. We can see which direction a wind is blowing from by looking at a weather vane. Storm winds. Storm winds are called hurricanes over the Atlantic Ocean, cyclones over the Indian Ocean, and typhoons over the Pacific Ocean. A hurricane starts as a thunderstorm over the ocean. The warm, wet air rises quickly, and as Earth moves, it makes the storm spin upward. The center of a hurricane is called the eye. Here the weather is calm, but around it there is heavy rain and winds of up to 350 kilometers per hour. It's difficult to predict where hurricanes will go because they can change speed and direction very quickly. Hurricanes can last for a week.
Discover.
Since 1978, every hurricane has had a name. The strongest hurricane ever recorded is Hurricane Wilma. Tornadoes. Tornadoes, or twisters, are the fastest winds on Earth. The storm clouds are a funnel shape, and they spin down from thunder clouds. When the tornado touches the ground, it starts to move like a vacuum cleaner, sucking up things from the ground. Tornadoes move quite slowly, at about 40 kilometers per hour. But winds inside the funnel can have speeds of up to 800 kilometers per hour. Tornadoes are much smaller than hurricanes, and they usually only last a few minutes, but they are very strong.
Discover.
In 1986, some children in China were sucked up by a tornado that destroyed their school. They were put down safely 20 kilometers away. Measuring the wind. A British man called Francis Beaufort found a way to record the strength of the wind. This is called the Beaufort scale. There are different scales to measure stronger winds, like tornadoes and hurricanes. These scales go from 1 to 5. Level 1 tornadoes can push cars off the road, and level 5 tornadoes can lift a house off the ground. Level 5 hurricanes can damage a lot of things. For example, they can pull up trees and destroy buildings. A really big hurricane can be as big as Australia. Chapter 8. In the future. Earth is getting warmer. The climate has become warmer and colder in the past, but scientists think that it's now getting warmer faster than ever before and that it will stay warmer in the future. Why is the climate changing? Earth gets heat from the sun. Some heat escapes, but some is trapped by a blanket of gases like carbon dioxide. This keeps Earth warm enough for us to live here. It's called the greenhouse effect. The problem now is that our vehicles, factories, and power stations have made a lot of carbon dioxide. So we're trapping too much heat and Earth is getting too warm. Weather in the future. More heat means that there will be more rain, stronger winds, and storms in some places, and more droughts and famines in others. It also means that the snow and ice on mountains and around the poles will melt, so sea levels will rise. If all the glaciers in the world melt, sea levels will rise more than 60 meters, and places near the ocean will go underwater. Ocean ice also helps keep Earth cool. If it melts, Earth will get even warmer. What can we do? It's probably too late to stop the climate changing, but we can help to slow it down. We must make less carbon dioxide to help to keep Earth cool. We can use our cars less. We can walk or ride a bicycle. We can also plant more trees. Trees use carbon dioxide to make food, so if there are more trees, there will be less carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Using energy from the weather. We need electricity, but we don't have to make it in power stations. Instead, we can make it from energy from the weather. Wind energy and solar energy are called green energy. Green energy makes less carbon dioxide. To make electricity, we can use strong winds to turn windmills that power turbines. Lots of windmills together are called a wind farm. Wind farms are often on hills or out in the ocean because the winds are stronger there. Solar panels can change light from the sun into electricity. This electricity can power small machines or heat homes. People use solar panels all around the world. The sun can even power cars and boats. Solar-powered vehicles can be expensive, but they don't make carbon dioxide. People keep finding new ways to use our amazing weather.
Discover.
In 1996, Kenichi Horie from Japan crossed the Pacific Ocean in this solar-powered boat.